Thanks for watching the video podcast. Of course, if you go on our website, theyoungturks.com, you can get the whole 3-hour show.
Plus an uncensored post-game show.
That's if you become a member on theyoungturks.com. All right, well, the Young Turks, you know what we're going to do for you today. We're going to do a fun show. Okay, that's what we always do. But let me tell you something. I'd like to make a couple of notes here. First of all, JR is not producing the show. Dave Kohler is. That's because JR is in Miami. He went there for the Super Bowl. He's going to stay there for a week. It is impossible for me to be more jealous of someone. Oh, he's going to have such a good time down there for a week, the Super Bowl. Everybody thinks he's a football player. Oh, it's awesome. Last year he went to Tampa, and he kept getting into the VIP section, et cetera, because everybody was convinced that he was a football player. Even without that, it's going to be such a great time. Oh, my God. All right, so I wanted that noted for the record. Furthermore, we're going to have a sick third hour today, okay? Now, look, every third hour is sick, but today's particularly diseased. We will have spankings. We will have a lot of international stories. 12-year-old bride, 9-year-old mom, 20 wives. There are a lot of crazy things going on. You know, I'm going to do some foreign stories in the first 2 hours, too, and there's some madness and sodomy involved there as well. Okay. And, you know, Casper looks awfully cute today. That's what I decided. Casper, that's a cute outfit. I can't wait to spring it on people in the third hour. All right, so those are the things that are coming up. Those are the things of note. So I'm going to do Obama second, right? You know he went and talked to the Democrats. I pretty much nailed what was going to happen in the postgame yesterday when we talked about it. But we'll give you some of the highlights and tell you roughly what happened. And maybe there's a little bit of good news that came out of that.
There is a bomb!
Okay. So, but I'm going to start with a little bit of anger. I'm in too good a mood to get too angry, but I got to work myself up a little bit, you know? So what did we find out today? Shocking. AIG, turns out, is taking more bonuses. But it's not just AIG. It's AIG Financial Products, the guys who blew up AIG and put them in a $182 billion hole in the first place. That hole, of course, was filled by you and I, the American taxpayer. $182 billion. So what are they getting for their efforts this year? Well, of course, a $100 million bonus. No, but you can't take a bonus if your company owes $182 billion. You can't take a $100 million bonus. That's crazy. But they say, are we not merciful? It turns out they give back 20%. They were supposed to get $120 million, but they're only going to take $100 million. Oh, God, I bask in your mercy and your generosity, and it's hard for my mind to comprehend how magnanimous you are. All right, but by the way, it's a lie, because it's actually $198 million, and they say they're giving back $20 million. And so that should be $178 million, not $100 million, and no one has explained the discrepancy. Now, AIG has a long history of lies, of course. That's part of what got us into this mess. Last year, remember the uproar over their bonuses, and their bonuses last year was $164 million. Sorry, no, $168 million, right? So what did they do? They said, okay, all right, Uncle, you win. I'm going to give you back $45 million of it. And did they? No, they gave back $19 million. And so where's the other $26 million? What happened to those? Well, we never collected those, and they decided to keep it. So now they say, well, that's part of that $20 million we're now not taking this year. Okay, first of all, you owed $26 million from last year. And second of all, I thought you were being generous by not taking $20 million this year. 20 and 26 don't even, I mean, the whole thing's a goddamn joke. And it's a joke played on you. We're paying these bonuses. We're paying them bonuses for destroying the economy, leading to 10% unemployment, $182 billion in taxpayer payouts to AIG. Okay, and they say, of course, what do they say? Here are two convenient excuses they use. First of all, no one knows how we screwed this thing up better than we do. So if you fire us, or you get rid of us, or you don't pay our bonuses, we'll walk. Okay? And if we walk, then you won't know how to fix the mess we created. Or I could say, hey, you fix that mess, or I put you in jail for fraud. I don't know. That's a possibility. There's 100 different possibilities, right? Then the second point is, no. You don't understand. I have a contract. I have a contract. And I signed it a couple of years ago before this thing blew up. And so you have to honor it. Well, let's understand a couple of things. First of all, you had that contract while you were destroying the economy, while you were bankrupting your company. So it's not like you made it in good faith. Again, I can go to fraud and say you were committing fraud while doing this. I'm not going to honor that contract that was fraudulent. That's number one. Number two, much easier. Here's what AIG is and has been for a long time now. Bankrupt. Okay? Now, when a company goes bankrupt, do you know what happens? This is not... Whenever it's the rich people with their contracts, they say, oh, I got a contract, right? When it was the unions that had contracts with GM, Chrysler, etc., well, look, you got to negotiate. You got to lower that contract. I don't give a damn what kind of contract you had. I'm going to put you out of business if you don't get rid of your contract. But when rich people have it, no, it's invaluable. But the reality is, legally speaking, you want to talk about the law, AIG went bankrupt, in effect, because, look, if I owe $10, they're going to shut this company down, okay, if I can't pay it, right? I mean, they shut Air America down. How much did they owe? I don't know, a nickel and a dime? I don't know, but it certainly wasn't $182 billion, right? So now if you owe $182 billion, you're bankrupt. You're bankrupt. And when you're bankrupt, you know what happens? You don't get paid. It's like this is a new concept. But it's not a new concept. All these people are taking you and I as suckers, including the current administration, including the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress. Chuck Grassley says, he's a Republican from Iowa, quote, AIG has taxpayers over a barrel. No, they don't. We should have them over a barrel. They're the ones who went bankrupt. So you're bankrupt, so that means you don't get your $168 million bonus last year, and you don't get your 178 or 100 million or whatever you're pretending the number is this year. No, you don't get that. If it's that simple, all right, hey, Dave, Dave and I, do the business side of this show. Let's bankrupt the Young Turks. And they say, I demand a $100 million bonus. I demand it. Hey, sis, would you like a $100 million bonus? Okay, should we bankrupt it and then put it on the American taxpayer? Okay. All right, great. Okay, we're bankrupt. Give us $100 million. No, you have to give it to us. We have you over a barrel. This is crazy, man. Absolutely nuts. And then the Democrats, the Republicans love this because they think, oh, somehow this is going to lead to disaster for the incumbents. I mean, we're the ones who pushed for all this, right? And we want to deregulate companies like AIG so they can do this again. But it doesn't matter. The incumbents are the ones that are going to suffer. So the Democrats, in their infinite stupidity, think, golly gee willikers, I wonder why the American people are so mad. Why did we lose Ted Kennedy's seat? Could it be because you keep backing these guys who keep ripping us off, funneling the money to them, and then giving them bonuses? Could that be part of it? I don't know. Call me crazy. And the thing is, in Washington, they do. Like, oh, don't listen to those radicals. Oh, those radicals, they don't know what they're doing. Oh, if we left the economy in their hands, this whole thing would have exploded. But it did explode, and we left it in your hands. Oh, you don't know how to fix things. No. The way you fix things is you give all the money to the people who screwed it up in the first place. Okay, I know, I'm the crazy one. First thing you know what? Let me tell you one other side story on that. That's not in the papers. I read about this over the weekend. Of course, mainstream press is like, what? Okay, so largely speaking. When AIG went under, right, and we had to do rescue, Hank Paulson, of course, was the Treasury Secretary under Bush. Now, AIG's CEO at that time, now everybody said he's got to go, right? But if you looked at who that person was and when he came into office, he actually got the CEO job in 2006. And at that point, they were already loaded up with the nonsense CDOs that Goldman Sachs had sold them, okay? So he was not part of buying those toxic assets, basically, to make it simple. So, but Hank Paulson came out, and then since he said it, everybody thought, oh my God, it's absolutely true, it's obvious. The CEO has to be fired. Well, funny enough, so he gets fired, and they put in the guy, Edward Liddy. You remember him? He came and did the testimony. He's now gone too, okay? I'll tell you why in a second. So when you look into the facts, you realize, you know what? What the CEO of AIG could have said at that time is, hey, wait a minute, I came in 06, this stuff was already, the company was already loaded with all this stuff. You know who sold it to us? Hank Paulson, who's now the Treasury Secretary. So he might have pointed that out, especially if they went to bankruptcy, saying, hey, don't come after me, come after the guy who sold us this crap. It's you, Hank Paulson. So they conveniently get rid of that CEO, and Edward Liddy that they put in, well, of course, former board member of Goldman Sachs. And so he said, and what does he do? Look, you might say that's a conflict of interest, but maybe it didn't matter. Guess what he did? He, of course, along with Paulson and Geithner and Bernanke, decided, nope, Goldman Sachs has to be paid 100 cents on the dollar. Even though it's worth about 20% of its value on the open market, these toxic assets, we're going to pay them 100%. Isn't that convenient how all the Goldman guys decided that Goldman should get paid 100%? And then after that robbery was done, Liddy was like, you know what, there's a lot of turmoil here at AIG and la 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 la, it's time to move on. I'll go back to collecting my paycheck somewhere else and making more money from Goldman, and everybody's happy, except you. Like, they played you for a fool. They played us for a fool, everybody, right? It was a robbery. That's what happened, okay? Don't make me play the Pulp Fiction clip. Bunny Rabbit, what's happening here? We got a robbery, okay? We got robbed. So now they come and tell us, oh, no, they have us over a barrel and there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, don't believe the hype. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, every time I see those stories, it burns me up, man. It burns me up. All right, let's go to Obama. So Obama, of course, went and had a little meeting with the House Republicans. Everybody talked about it, and he did a pretty good job of answering their questions and going back and forth. Great. So he decided to do one with the Democrats because there was some pressure, including pressure by myself on Dylan Ratigan's show, saying he should do one with the Democrats. By the way, Ratigan said that was my idea. Confession. It wasn't really. He just said it on TV, and I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure, that was a brilliant idea I came up with. I don't know whose idea it was. Anyway, so he decides to go do a Q&A with the Senate Democrats. Now, last night in the postgame, I was talking about this, and I said, you know, look, they're going to have a lot of the people who are in tight races come up and do basically little political speeches, right? And a lot of the people in the tight races on the Senate side are in redder states, so most likely he will get questions that are more conservative, so that a conservative Democrat can stand up and say, Mr. President, I challenge you on the deficit, and la 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 la, and ba da 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 da, right? And so he can take that back home to his constituents and say, look, I even stood up to Obama. And that is largely exactly what happened. So you had Blanche Lincoln stand up and say that. Now, from time to time, you did get a Barbara Boxer who's, you know, not in this tight race, and who did challenge Obama, was the only one to challenge Obama from the left at all. Just saying, hey, shouldn't we be a little stronger in pushing for our agenda? That was the closest anyone got to, you know, asking him a tough question from the left side. Of course, there was no Bernie Sanders, there was no Feingold, there was no Franken, there was no Brown. Well, actually, Brown did ask a question, but not from the progressive side. So, you know, as we suspected, there were no progressive questions, okay? And he got a bunch of conservative questions, and that's fine, and he answered them in a very Obama way. Now, but I was encouraged by some of the things that happened, okay? First of all, throughout the whole event, Obama was a little tougher on the Republicans. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, he went from 1 to 2, whereas on a daily basis, I'm at about a 9, right? So, but hey, it was nice. That's like doubling his intensity, right? And we got a little example of that here. Let's go to clip number 2 and show you what he said in the beginning.
When it came to health insurance reform in particular, I sought out and supported Republican ideas from the start. So did you. Max Baucus, where's Max? I think he can testify to spending a little time listening to Republican ideas. So can Chris Dodd and Tom Harkin. You considered hundreds of Republican amendments and incorporated many of their ideas into the legislation that passed the Senate. So when I start hearing that we should accept Republican ideas, let's be clear, we have. What hasn't happened is the other side accepting our ideas. And I told them, I want to work together when we can, and I meant it. I believe that's the best way to get things done for the American people. But I also made it clear that we'll call them out when they say they want to work with us, and we extend a hand and get a fist in return. Last week, for example, you put up for a vote a bill I supported. Conrad, Greg, Fiscal Commission. We were assured this was going to be bipartisan, only to see 7 Republicans who co-sponsored the idea in the first place suddenly decide to vote against it. Now, I'm open to honest differences of opinion, but what I'm not open to is changing positions solely because it's good short-term politics.
Oh man, Obama's ripping him. Okay, but there was a good line in there. And overall, hey, like I said, I'm happy that he's getting a little tougher. He said, we have led, we extended a hand and get a fist in return. Actually, that's very similar to what he said about Islamic fundamentalism, if you remember, in the beginning of his administration. I think it was in his inauguration speech, when he said, look, we're extending a hand, but we can't get a fist in return. So when the Republicans catch on to that, they're going to be livid. Okay, so now, having said that, that's exactly right, of course. Now, see, this is very important because Obama right now is caught in this contradiction, and there are so many press reports that talk about anytime that Obama gets tough, they say, oh, well, he said he was going to be bipartisan and he was going to change the tone of Washington. He's not changing the tone. He's attacking the Republicans. No, 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 don't do it. Please, please, please don't attack the Republicans. Now, on the other hand, if he doesn't attack the Republicans, he's in a catch-22. They say, what happened? I thought you were going to bring us change, and you won't bring the change. Now, because if you don't challenge the Republicans, they just keep blocking every single bill, and you don't get anything done. So he's in a no-win situation. He's in a lose-lose, right? Now, I think he can turn that into a win-win, and I think he's on the road to doing that with his statement today. Look, here's what you say. Here are the things that I've offered, right? And they have a certain amount of time to accept these, right? And if they don't, for example, in healthcare reform, that time is already run out. These are the things that I agreed to on the Republican side, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Obama could name you 20 things that he agreed to on the Republican side. Here are the concessions that we made. Here are the new offers that we have. Now, if you accept those, great. Then we have bipartisanship. And I brought a new tone to Washington, and everything's great. Now, if I give you all those concessions, or I make you all these offers, and you still don't take it, then what I have to do is kick your ass. Now, that's the critical part of it, right? Because if you just go to ass kicking, they say, oh, well, you're not changing the tone. And if you just do the concessions, then they say, well, you're not really getting any change, and you're not getting any votes. So he's got to do carrot and stick and turn that lose-lose into a win-win. So he says, all right, look, I offered these. They did not accept them. They gave me 0 votes. So now it's time to kick their ass. In fact, it's time to name names and make them famous. That's what John McCain said in his campaign that he would do with corrupt members of Congress, right, and the ones that wanted the pork barrel project. So he's got to say, look, Chuck Grassley offered this in healthcare reform. I accepted that. And now he still voted against it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on a campaign against Chuck Grassley in Iowa, and I'm going to tell the good people of Iowa why Chuck Grassley screwed you, why he denied you health care, why if you have a pre-existing condition, the reason you're not getting insurance is because of Chuck Grassley. If you or a family member is sick and you then have the insurance company deny you coverage through what they call rescission, we couldn't fix that. You know why? Because of Chuck Grassley. If you're paying higher premiums next year because we couldn't get reform, you know why that is? It's because of Chuck Grassley. Okay? And you run those ads and you run those ads and you show the sick people in the hospital. Here's the person who's not getting their health care paid for, who has cancer. Why? Chuck Grassley. Chuck Grassley's killing her. He's killing her. Because look, if they don't get the insurance, that's not theoretical. It happens all across the country. You all know it. If you don't get insurance coverage, you can't afford the treatment. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it happens to a lot of people. That is what rescission is. And when they had him in front of Congress, the insurance executive said, hell no. Unless you do the reform and make us legally do it, we're not going to stop rescission. So those people die when they don't get the coverage. And whose fault is it? Say it with me. Chuck Grassley's. Carrots and sticks. Turn your lose-lose into a win-win. Now, he took a small step in that direction today. I applaud that. Let's take a lot more steps in that direction. All right, now when we come back, the rest of what happened, including a classic Evan Bayh question, a classic Obama answer, and exactly what I predicted from Blanche Lincoln. Young Turks. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and a Kasperian producing. How you like them apples? And hence that sexy song about leather or something that came in. I don't know what was happening there. Jesus Godoy, of course, as always, directing on theyoungturks.com. So, fun hour ahead for you guys. We're going to start goofy, and then we're going to get serious, okay? So we got some Abdul Muttalib stories for you guys, of course. We have some foreign policy, some good news, some bad news. But let's, and then we're going to have Bruce Braley, congressman from Iowa, join us in a little bit. We'll talk to him about the state of the economy, what he thinks of Obama and the Republicans. That'll be fun. You know how I handle that. All right, so, but let's start with fun. The R-word controversy rages on.
Yesterday was Tuesday, tomorrow's
No,
Thursday.
not the right clip at all. Classic Cenk Uygur mistake. Okay. Everybody calm down. Let's start again. The R-word controversy rages on. So, Barack... What's going on with me today? Was I getting a little sippy like Kanye West before the show? I'm not even hungry. Normally when I'm hungry, I lose concentration. All right. Rahm Emanuel used the R word, which is, of course, outrageous, when describing liberals. Funny enough, he said they were effing R word when they decided to attack conservative Democrats. And this was in a meeting of liberal activists, etc. This made it into the Wall Street Journal, and, you know, it got some decent play, and people were talking about how liberals are mad at Rahm Emanuel and he's mad at liberals, so it was okay. Now, over the last couple of days, it's exploded. That article is now everywhere. Why? Because Sarah Palin is upset. She said that this was outrageous and offensive, and that Obama should immediately fire Rahm Emanuel. If he had used the N-word, would anybody tolerate it? But instead he used the R-word, and that is just simply unacceptable to attack God's children with Down syndrome. Like, that's what, look, I got no love for Rahm Emanuel whatsoever. The one slight upside of this story for me is I was quoted in that article, and I've been quoted by almost every media organization since then because of that quote, right? But so I got, and my quote was, Rahm Emanuel is Barack Obama's Dick Cheney. So I got no love for Rahm Emanuel. But he was not attacking kids with Down syndrome. That's R word to say that. Can I say R word in saying it? I get confused. I'm not sure. Anyway, so since the conservatives are upset, and since Sarah Palin is talking, and you know, you doing your usual tactics of, look at me, Daddy, look at me, I'm over here, I'm causing controversy. Somebody pay me. Okay, you know, because she gets all this hype, and then she goes gets $100,000 per speech from those poor some of my bitches at the tea parties. All right, anyway, so now that Rahm's in trouble, because if liberals attack him, he's not in any trouble. If conservatives attack him, then we got trouble. He has to go and do an apology tour. You know how if you insult black Americans, you got to go and apologize to the head of the NAACP, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and you got to make the rounds, right? So now, apparently, there are new rounds if you insult kids with, you know, all of a sudden, like, I'm like, how do I say it? Right? With developmental problems. Okay, there, I found a way. So I don't want to make the apology tour. So first, what Rahm Emanuel did was he apologized to Tim Shriver of the Special Olympics. And that was apparently not enough. And so what happened was two things happened. One, Tim Shriver's office said, look, I don't represent all kids with developmental problems, so I don't accept the apology. So he's like, damn, that didn't work. And then all the other the organizations that deal with basically, you know, kids with disabilities then came out and said, well, he's got to apologize to us too. because if he doesn't, then we don't accept his apology either. In fact, Peter Burns, the head of the advocacy group called the ARC, said that these private apologies to the Special Olympics doesn't cut it. He needs to go kiss everybody's ring. Okay? So then Rahm Emanuel went to, and this is the update from today, Andrew Imparato, president of the American Association of People with Disabilities, Hannah Jacobs, parent of a disabled child, two so-called self-advocates, Julie Petty and Ricardo Thornton. I don't know how they even found these people. They're like, you have a kid with this? Okay, can I apologize to you? Okay. And then, of course, to Peter Burns, too, because he was crying about it. So he does the apology tour, and now the second update from today is it's okay. He has been pardoned. All those groups came out and said, okay, now that our ring has been kissed and we've got the proper Al Sharpton treatment, now you are pardoned. Man, we live in a goofy, goofy world. And then a couple of listeners emailed me, and I saw a comment on YouTube, too. They said, hey, wait a minute. Do you remember what the Bristol's baby daddy, Levi Johnston, accused Sarah Palin of? He said in an interview that she called her own child with Down syndrome her retarded baby. Wait a minute. Okay, now look, you don't know. Maybe Levi's making it up, right? And he was trying to grab attention too, right? So if that's why we can't go ballistic. But if Levi's right, then Sarah Palin is the world's worst hypocrite. I mean, we already knew 800 other problems with her. We already knew she was a hypocrite. But that's it. She would officially win the prize as the world's worst hypocrite. So the one other upside from this whole story and this nonsense is that the rest of the media read that Wall Street Journal article, and they're like, wait, liberals don't like Rahm Emanuel? To which, of course, I say, of course. Like, they keep coming to me and asking me, because I was quoted in the article, saying, why don't you guys like him? Because he never does anything liberal. All he ever does is push for the conservative side within the Obama administration. In fact, he actively tries to shut out other progressive voices. He kept Howard Dean out of the administration, according to all reports. He pushed against the public option, against Medicare buy-in, in favor of all those deals that they made with the insurance companies, the drug companies, etc. And he lost the elections. He was supposed to be a political genius. Instead, he didn't get any health care reform, and he lost in, Virginia and New Jersey. But much more importantly, in the Senate, he lost in Massachusetts. So he's a failure, and he's against progressives. So why would we be in favor of him? And so that story got out. People were like, really? Wow, we didn't know that. Well, now, ironically, partly thanks to Sarah Palin, it's a crazy world out there. It really is. This country's nuts. Because if you're with like 60% of Americans who are center, left, progressive, liberal, you call them whatever you want to call them, okay? Nobody pays any attention to you. You can scream at the top of your lungs, nobody gives a damn, right? I was amazed that the article got some hype, just a little bit of hype, before Sarah Palin stepped in. But if you're on the right-wing side, you have this enormous megaphone. The minute you say anything,
Rahm Emanuel used the R word. He is evil.
And everybody goes ballistic over it. The disparity is mind-numbing. All right. So now that we've adjudicated that, we can move on. All right. You want to talk about bad guys? Wow. John Edwards. I mean, the stories do not end. Now he's irrelevant. He's never going to get back into politics. He's one of the most despised people in America. So why bring it back? Why, pour salt into those wounds? Because the stories keep getting crazier and crazier. So now what could be crazier than cheating on your wife who has cancer in the middle of a presidential campaign and getting your mistress pregnant? What could be crazier than that? Well, it turns out John Edwards made a sex tape with that pregnant mistress. Now, that has been confirmed. I thought that couldn't be true. It's been confirmed. Rielle Hunter says she wants the tape back. Okay, all right. The former aide to John Edwards found it in a garage, apparently, etc. Okay, now you think, all right, So he made a sex tape. But it can't get any worse than that, right? Police are investigating that John Edwards apparently stole Elizabeth Edwards' wallet. What? Okay. He apparently went over to the house. She sees him take the wallet, and he goes to another part of the house. She's like, John, what's going on? Comes back. She's like, where's the wallet? He's like, I didn't take your wallet. And the wallet's gone. So now the police are looking into whether to file charges. So now what could be worse than cheating on your wife that has cancer in the middle of a presidential campaign and making a sex tape with your pregnant mistress and robbing your wife? Well, the news today. The National Enquirer is reporting, and understand that the National Enquirer was right about every story about John Edwards until now, that he apparently beat Elizabeth Edwards. How could you do that? I mean, he was already the lowest polled politician in America today. Okay, well, first of all, he's no longer a politician. He could never, ever run for office in America again. He's going to be the lowest polled person in America. So that's it. That's how you do it, apparently. Her friends of Elizabeth Edwards told the National Enquirer, they took a lie detector test, according to the Enquirer, and they say, yes, that he got physical with her and assaulted her, and then that's when she finally decided, okay, enough is enough, and that they need to get separated. So there it is. My mind cannot comprehend anything worse than cheating on your pregnant wife in the middle of a presidential campaign, making a sex tape with your pregnant mistress, robbing your wife, and then beating her. John Edwards, congratulations. You win. You're the most despised man in America. Okay. Now, speaking of despised men, let's be bipartisan here and talk about Mark Sanford. Jenny Sanford, his wife, is coming out with a new book. She's had a couple of interviews. And, of course, Mark Sanford, the governor of South Carolina, who had presidential ambitions until he was caught with his mistress in Argentina while he was pretending to be on the Appalachian Trail. Well, the revelations in his wife's book, soon-to-be ex-wife's book, are, of course, disastrous for him. Number one, he apparently, when caught in the affair, came to his wife and consulted with her. Not on, hey, are you okay? How can I make it up to you? What can I do? No, he came and asked her for political advice on what he should do about the affair. She's like, are you, wait a minute, are you serious? She's like, do you understand you cheated on me and not some other person? He's like, yeah, but what do you think I should do with the press? I mean, how self-absorbed can anyone be, right? But it gets worse. So apparently when they were first getting married, Jenny Sanford should have known that there was trouble coming up because he insisted on taking out the word faithful in his wedding vows. How does that not set off every alarm bell? Anna, can you imagine you're about to get married and your husband's like, hey, you know what, everything's cool, but can we just take out the word about me having to be faithful to you from the wedding vow?
So she's claiming this in her book?
Yeah, and that part is in a 2020 interview with Barbara Walters.
I don't know if I believe that, but if that's really the case, if he insisted to take that out of their wedding vows, then she's a fool for marrying him. At that very moment, she should have known, okay, he wants to take faithful out of our wedding vows. That means that he's not interested in being faithful and committed to me in our relationship. So that's her bad.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I do believe her. She doesn't have any incentive to lie at this point. They're going to get a divorce. She's got no interest in him. But, I mean, she's going to get whatever she wants in the divorce. I don't see the incentive for her to lie, right? But, yeah, I mean, look, there's only one reason why anybody would ever ask for that. In fact, he's crazy to ask for it. He should just cheat on her and not give it away by saying that. But she says, look, we were madly in love at the time, right? And, all right, that's good, but apparently he wasn't that madly in love with you because he was already planning to cheat on you. That's revelation number 3 is, it turns out, of course, Mark Sanford cheated on her with a number of other women. It wasn't just his mistress in Argentina. So that is another revelation against Mark Sanford. And then here are other lovely details. Apparently he was so cheap that he once gave her a diamond necklace, which she loved, and then later he decided, I can't really afford that, and he took it back. That's not really that cool. Okay, but it gets much better. Here's a quote from the interview. He said, he drew me a picture of half a bike, and then for my next birthday or Christmas, I got the picture of the other half a bike. And then he delivered a $25 used bike. Oh, come on, dude. Even I'm not that cheap. So that's 2 birthdays or Christmases, and at the end you get a $25 used bike. Why did she ever stay with him in the first place? You know, she brought in the money to the relationship. He eventually did too, but she was very successful on Wall Street. She's the one that made his political career. She was his top political advisor. Man, she picked the wrong dude. So that's the story of another politician who appears to have no chance of making a comeback, Mark Sanford. It was nice knowing you. You gave us a lot of funny stories, but you're done, son. We come back with Congressman Braley, Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. I've decided that we had too many disturbing foreign sex stories in a row for you guys. I'm going to save some for the postgame.
Right.
So China's sexual frustration, the sodomy story, and which world leader has just had his 20th child from his 7th different woman. We will discuss all that in the post-game show. All right. But we do have one kind of somewhat sexual story left for you.
I think it's a good story, though. All right?
I do.
Bollywood is planning on creating its first movie that will feature a homosexual kiss. I think that's awesome because, you know, Bollywood films are known for being a little conservative, okay? In fact, they didn't even have a heterosexual kiss until recently in one of their films. So a lot of things are considered taboo and racy, so they're finally moving toward accepting homosexuality. I love it. That's a good thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I like about this. First, India's opening up. That's a positive thing. So heterosexual kiss, homosexual kiss, and recently we had male buttocks shown for the first time.
Right.
Well, you know, maybe if we keep going in this direction, we'll finally see naked Indian women on camera. So I'm not saying anything. Topless. Just having a conversation. See how it goes. All right? Now, the second thing I love about this story is the name of the movie is called Don't Know Why Na Jane Kyun, right? And the story, the article here says, which translates to Don't Know Why. Yeah, the title is Don't Know Why. Like, that's not really, you know, Sanskrit or Urdu. Okay, it's Don't Know Why. So I love the guy who was like, oh, can I get a translation on this? Yeah, it's D-U-N-N-O and then the letter Y. Oh, that translates as Don't Know Why. Okay, all right. So fun for everybody.
Yeah.
And look, of course, as a social thing, very happy to see India open up like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go Bollywood.
All right, let's go to my favorite story of the day.
Go.
It's my favorite story of the day because it has to do with my favorite city, Las Vegas. Okay?
I like this story too.
Right. Now, the mayor of Las Vegas, Oscar Goodman, is super upset at Barack Obama, right? Because Barack Obama basically made a statement where he told people not to blow all their college money in Vegas, right? I mean, I don't think that's an outrageous statement, but Oscar Goodman thinks it is, right? Because, of course, Vegas has been hit really hard by the economic situation. So they want to encourage people, you know, to go to Vegas and spend their money there and stimulate their economy, right? So they're upset. And it's funny because Oscar Goodman has a really funny statement to say to Barack Obama. He says, Obama is no friend to Las Vegas and would not be welcomed if he visits.
Oh, no, that's just the tip of the iceberg. He says if he comes, he's going to give him the boot. Okay, I got more for you. Then he says he has to step up right away and say, you know, he wasn't thinking. Sometimes when he's not using his monitors and reading what he says, he doesn't think. And this is one of those times he didn't think. And he should straighten out the record because he's been here and he knows Las Vegas is a great place. Okay, look. Bring it down, okay? You're at a 10 when you need to be at a 2. He's actually doing you a favor because now he's had 2 references to Vegas, and both of them were, don't go and have too much fun in Vegas. The first one was, hey, what are the bankers doing holding fancy conferences in Vegas in the middle of us taxpayers bailing them out? Now, look, people in Vegas that was a little more understandable they were mad about that because they're like, look, we need, it's such an important part of Vegas that we have conferences here, so don't discourage people from doing that. I get that a little bit, right? So they were mad about it. But this one, he's just saying don't blow the college kids' money on Vegas, right? First of all, you can't object to that. You just can't, okay? Second of all, it sounds like something like you want to do. You're like, you want to blow the kids' college money in Vegas, but don't do it. In fact, after I read this whole story, I wanted to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, yeah, blowing some money in Vegas, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Right? But they're all livid, and they're taking it so seriously. Like, this is a real political issue. You got Democratic congressmen against them. Harry Reid's livid.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And they're demanding that he apologize to Vegas. Don't apologize to Vegas. That's crazy. Okay? But, of course, politics being what it is, he will. He'll come out and say, I'm totally sorry.
I regret it. I'm sorry. You're saying I'm sorry. That was just my mistake and my bad. I'm sorry.
Forever saying that about good old Vegas.
Right.
Yes, you should blow your college tuition on Vegas. Ridiculous. All right, now we get on to the Toyota controversy that your boyfriend's been looking forward to.
Yes. So a lot of Toyota vehicles have been recalled because they've been problematic. Okay, they've had several problems, but the most notable problem is the defective gas pedals.
Okay, look, let's keep it real. What makes this story fun, okay, is that recently the Uger family was interested in buying a vehicle. And Anna's boyfriend, Ladis, was good enough to help us, right? But he's at a Ford dealership. And we made it very clear that we wanted a Japanese car because we were tired of my American cars that kept breaking down. And Wendy was convinced that, you know, Toyotas and Asian cars don't break down and American cars do. Now, Ladis tried to talk some sense to us a little bit, and no, we weren't having it. So we wound up buying a Toyota Corolla, which has now been recalled.
Oh,
okay.
devastating. Devastating.
So the whole time, Ladis is thinking, na 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 na. What happened now? Oh, no. Yeah, they never break down. Oh, the Toyotas never break down. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Why don't you go ahead and buy some? Yeah. Oh, no, Fords, you don't want to buy a Ford. No. Have they been recalled lately? Yeah,
Not only have they not been recalled, the Ford Fusion has won several awards.
It is propaganda.
It's not. It's the truth. Look, first of all, I drive a Nissan, okay? I'm all for Japanese cars. I love non-American cars. I know that's a terrible thing to say.
You know what? Oscar Goodman is demanding an apology. That is outrageous. The mayor of Detroit just called.
I would love a Corvette. A Corvette is an American car. Chevy, I would love it. If somebody gave me a Corvette, I would definitely drive it. Z06.
If someone were to give it to her. All right. So look. I hear you. Now let's talk about why they got recalled. And we're in a bit of a panic. I panicked this morning. I was watching the Obama press conference, not the press conference, but when he talked to Democrats. And then afterwards, I thought they were going to do analysis on CNN, but they didn't. They went straight to the Toyota story. I'm like, whatever. Then I'm like, wait a minute. We have a Toyota Corolla. And LaHood, the transportation secretary, said, you need to stop driving those cars now, right? And it sent everybody into a panic, including me. Okay, I'm like, Wendy! First of all, we have to switch cars. Okay, right. I'm not letting you drive that car. Okay.
Oh,
poopy papoopy. And then number two, you have to call Toyota right now and demand a rental. Okay, because they're like, oh, we can't get to your car yet. All right, well, take as long as you need. Just give me a rental. Right? That makes sense. I mean, what am I? The problem is, the accelerator sometimes goes out of control and won't stop. Right?
They thought that the floor mats were entrapping the accelerator,
which,
right?
One, that's not true.
Right.
The floor mats are not the ones that are making the accelerator. Number two, now they're like, I think we got a part in the accelerator.
Yeah, there might be an electrical problem.
Right, but consumer groups are saying, hey, wait a minute. Some of these cars are getting stuck, the gas pedal gets stuck, and goes up to 120 miles an hour. Okay, this is an electronic problem. This isn't a problem with a part. Now, I don't know enough about cars where I have no idea who's telling the truth, right? But do I trust Toyota? That they're like, oh, no, we figured it out. It was the mat. No, okay, that didn't work. Yeah, it was a little part. We're sending the parts to the dealers now. It's fine. No, of course I don't trust them. You know, they're a corporation. And you think they're going to say, oh, yeah, it's an electronic problem. Let's take back those 5 million cars and try to fix the electronic problem in the cars and make you panic about every other car that's on the road that might also have an electronic problem that's made by Toyota. They're not going to say that. Even if it's true, they're not going to say it, right? So, panic.
Yeah, everyone is panicking. By the way, did you guys get the rental? Or are you still waiting on that?
They said they're going to call her back. Okay.
Customer service is important when it comes to this.
You might want to think about it next time you're buying a car. But look. Here's first quick clarification. LaHood then took back his comments, realizing that would be a total panic. He said, no. If you have an experience problem with your car, you could wait to take it in. You don't have to stop driving all the cars. Okay, right. Toyota put a lot of pressure on them to say that. Okay, but the bottom line on why all this happened is, if you missed it so far, it's because I bought a Toyota. I jinxed the whole company. Okay, they'd never had a problem before. Okay, never. That's why we bought the Toyota. What were the chances, right? And if you know anything about my gambling history, you knew this was definitely going to happen. if Toyota knew what it was good for them, they would have been like, no, don't buy our car.
Buy the Ford.
And this happened right after we bought the car. So there's no disputing it. It's definitely the jinx. So I don't know if Toyota owes me money or I owe Toyota money. but that's what happened here. And now you know. All right, we'll see you in the postgame. Thanks for watching the video podcast. And, of course, if you become a member on theyoungturks.com, you can get the whole 3-hour show.
Plus an uncensored postgame show.
Those are fun. Young Turks.